You know that feeling, right? That Friday feeling? The work week is finally over, you've got 2 whole days of freedom stretching out in front of you. It's just the rhythm of our lives. We plan everything around it, we count down the hours to it. But what if I told you that whole thing, that 2-day break we take for granted, isn't natural at all? What if it's just an invention? Something born from a forgotten story of struggle and compromise and some really surprising alliances. Today, we are cracking open the vault on the secret history of our 2 favorite days of the week. Welcome to the Vernacular Vault. Okay, so to really get why the weekend was such a game changer, you have to understand the price people were paying before it existed. Back in 1890, the average work week for a factory employee wasn't 40 hours. Nope, it was 100 hours. Think about that. A week of just grinding labor that left almost no time for, life. So that begs the question, right? If the weekend isn't some natural part of the weekly cycle, and our not-so-distant ancestors didn't have one, where in the world did it come from? Well, the idea of taking a day off is actually ancient, super old. For thousands of years, cultures all over the globe have built these little pauses right into their calendars. And the variety is pretty amazing. You've got Han Dynasty officials in China around 200 BCE getting a day off every 5 days, which was charmingly called a day for washing one's hair. I love that. Then you have the Roman Empire with its Nundine, a market day every 8 days. And of course, in 321 CE, Emperor Constantine made Sunday the official day of rest for the entire Christian Empire. And this brings us to a really interesting puzzle. If all these ancient civilizations had days of rest built in, why did the modern world seem to lose them? Why did our own recent ancestors have to fight tooth and nail just to get a weekend? The answer? Well, it's forged in the smoke and the steel of the Industrial Revolution. This era didn't just build factories, it completely rewrote our relationship with time itself. All those old rhythms of life, based on the sun and the seasons, they were totally replaced by the relentless ticking of the factory clock. People were working 10, 12, sometimes 14 hours a day. 6 days a week was the norm, and working all 7 wasn't even that unusual. There was no time to wash your hair, let alone to rest.
But out of all that exhaustion, this powerful idea started to catch on. It was a simple, kind of radical slogan that basically demanded a life outside the factory walls.
And listen, this was not a polite request. The fight was fierce. As early as 1866, the National Labor Union was calling for an 8-hour day. By 1886, a national strike brought hundreds of thousands of workers out onto the streets. But this movement was often met with incredible violence, like at the infamous Haymarket Square rally in Chicago, where a bomb and police gunfire left both officers and demonstrators dead.
So the battle for the 8-hour day, that would rage on for decades. But the 2-day weekend that we all know and love, it didn't actually come from a massive, violent strike. Its real origin is way quieter and a whole lot more surprising. It all started in 1908 at a cotton mill in New England that had a very practical problem. Its workforce was a mix of Christian and Jewish immigrants. The Jewish workers needed Saturday off for their Sabbath, and the Christian workers, they observed Sunday. So what did the factory owner do? The solution was brilliant, just in how simple it was. He gave everyone both days off. And just like that, not from a strike, but from a local solution to a religious problem, the first 5-day work week in North America was born. Isn't that wild? Finding these hidden histories behind the things we do every day is exactly what the Vernacular Vault is all about. If you're enjoying this story, do us a huge favor and take a second to subscribe. It really helps us keep digging into the vault for more forgotten stories just like this one. Now, this clever little local solution might have just stayed a local solution, if it wasn't for this guy, Henry Ford. In 1926, he adopted the 5-day work week not just for religious reasons, but for a really powerful economic one. He understood something that was, at the time, totally revolutionary. So this actually created 2 completely different ways of looking at the weekend. Ford's whole argument was that for mass production to work, you needed mass consumption. And for workers to buy stuff, they needed 2 things: money in their pockets, and, this is the key part, time to spend it. Leisure for Ford was basically shopping time. But for the labor movement, the 5-day week was seen as a hard-won concession, a way for the big industrialists to calm everybody down and stop unions from getting too powerful.
So with pressure from both sides, unions demanding it and corporations like Ford adopting it, the idea started to spread like wildfire.
In 1929, a clothing workers' union became the first to officially win a 5-day week in their contract. Then, during the Great Depression, the idea took off as a way to spread the limited work around to more people. And finally, in 1940, the Fair Labor Standards Act made the 40-hour, 5-day work week the official law of the land in the U.S. The weekend was here to stay.
But here's the thing. The fight for our time was never really over. The conversation that started with that slogan, 8 hours for what you will, it never really went away. And today, it's just taken on a brand new form.
Yep. Now, the big debate is all about the 4-day workweek. On the one hand, people who support it point to studies showing it reduces burnout and can actually make people more productive. It's a huge perk for attracting talent. But there are real concerns too. Could it just mean cramming 5 days of stress into 4? What about jobs that need to be done 24/7? And does it risk creating a new kind of inequality between those who can do it and those who can't?
So the next time you're enjoying that Saturday morning coffee, just remember the centuries of history that made it possible. From a law in ancient Rome to a bloody picket line in the 19th century, all the way to a little compromise in a New England factory. The weekend is a gift. It's a hard-won piece of time. Which really just leaves us with one final thought. The generations before us fought for the weekend. So what will our generation's fight for time look like?